All right, Programming 12, we are now going to be making our buttons tactile, and then we'll make them clickable as well. So what I mean is I'm going to have some buttons here. I got some colors I chose from coolers.co, and I want it so that when I click on the brown button, my background turns brown, and when I click on the green, the background turns green, and that will sort of demonstrate how buttons work in general. There's two parts to it. There's making it tactile. So when I mouse over a button, when I mouse over things in processing, when I mouse over stuff in any software environment, the way that the software lets you know that that thing is clickable is it changes like color in some way. It highlights it. It puts some text out there. So you can be creative and do all sorts of different ways of highlighting. I'm going to do a pretty basic one. I'm just going to make it change color slightly in terms of the outline. But there's a million different ways. You can change the fill. You could change the thickness of the outline. You could change, I don't know, all sorts. You could put some text that shows up on top of it. Many different ways of doing it. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So first of all, here's my rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my rectangle and make it choose the stroke color. It's going to be white when I mouse over it. Otherwise, it's going to be black. So it's definitely going to fill brown, but I'm going to have to choose between stroke, white, or stroke black. So those are going to be my two different choices. So what I'm going to do is I would like to make an if statement. And I can use that code that we talked about in the last video about checking to see if the mouse is inside of this box. So we can look at this. I'm using the exact same numbers as from last video. So I need to check to see if the mouse is between 100 and 100 plus the width, so 300. So if mouse X is greater than 100, and mouse X is less than 300, and mouse Y is greater than, because of upside down Y-axis, greater than 100, and mouse Y is less than 200, because it's this number plus the height. So sorry, this got a little bit too far because my font's so big, but that's okay. So if that's true, hey, guess what? My mouse is on top. So what I want to do is say stroke white. Now, what if it's not on top? I don't want to have to code some math to be like, what if this is not true? So luckily, programming languages give us an else. So if else are connected, and basically this block of code is what happens when the if statement here, the Boolean logic part of the if statement is true, but the else is what happens, the else block is what happens when it is false. So I can say stroke black. So it's just gives you that option right away. So let's run that and see. So there it is. I'm not touching it with the mouse, so it's black, but as soon as I mouse over, it's white. Oh, look at that. My other one spills over too, right? And that's okay, because we can fix that. Basically what's happening, as soon as you stroke white, it spills over to the next shape as well. But that'll go away once we put in our own kind of code here. So what about this? So I'm going to take that. I guess it's a circular button, so the math is going to be a little bit different. So let's do the circular button. We can see that is the location, and this is the radius. So we want to measure the distance between the center of the circle and the mouse pointer and check to see if it's less than 100. That's how we know. And then we'll basically have the same kind of structure. So I'm going to bring that along, but I'm going to gut the if statement, like goodbye rectangle logic, because we're not in a rectangle anymore. So this time we're going to do it for a circle. So we'll check to see if the distance between the center of the circle and the mouse pointer is less than the radius. If it is, we'll stroke white, otherwise we'll stroke black. Let's see, how does that work? Notice now that we have our own stroke here, it doesn't spill over. And it seems like, oh, look at that, it's too big. What happened? What went wrong? Well, that's actually the diameter. That's not the radius. So I guess I better fix that. That should be 50. So in other words, don't forget that that's a diameter, that's a radius. Let's see if that works better. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks so much better. Boop, boop, boop. Go back and forth between. Okay, so now the buttons are highlightable, but what about making them clickable? So there's a number of ways to do that. I think one of the easiest ways is just use the mouse pressed function. So what I can do is basically take this logic and apply it to an action when I click the mouse. So you'll notice that there's a background color. I have my palette of colors here, brown, cream, green, etc. But then I have this BKG color. It's not meant to be a palette. It's meant to be a variable that holds the current color that we're using to color the background. And I've plugged it into background. So if this BKG color, this is my shorthand for background, if it changes, then my background color will change. So in mouse press, I'm going to use this same kind of if statement. This is for my brown rectangle button. Doesn't really matter that it's brown, but I want to just have some color to change it to. So in other words, if I click on this brown button, because this is in mouse press, now I can apply some action. So I can say BKG equals brown. And then I can also do a similar thing with the circle buttons. If I want to make them do something with an action, I could put that same logic inside of here. And I can say background equals green. So this is the actions that the button does, and this is making the buttons tactile. So if I run that, I can see that when I click the brown button, the background goes brown. When I click the green button, the background goes green. Okay? All right, so that's making buttons clickable, and I would like you to give this a try as well. I would like you to go over to coolers.co and pick a color palette. Doesn't matter which one, but choose one that has at least 5 colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you could. This is a little ambitious, but choose a 5 color one. Oh, look at that one. Nice. There's just some beauties here. Pick one that you like is the main thing, and I want you to make a screen full of buttons, both rectangular and circular, that are tactile, and that when you click on them, change the background to a particular color. Obviously, buttons can do other things, but I think once you understand that, oh yeah, I can put this math in, and then this block of code is the result of clicking, then that's going to make a lot more sense. So I think that's going to be great. And in our next video, I think we'll take a look at making that math into a function that we can reuse over and over again, because it's kind of annoying to do this manually. But I think that's a good place to stop as a checkpoint. Go ahead and try to make your own version of this sketch. Shake up the buttons, put them all around, choose a different color scheme. I took the most popular one. Sorry about that. If you love that one, pick a different one and have fun with that. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the next checkpoint.